This is Top 30. The National Archives finally released 2,800 pages of documents about the assassination of John F. Kennedy. However, due to security concerns from the FBI and CIA, some of the documents were withheld. But here is what new information has emerged so far. The investigation covered various activities of the Kennedy administration, like the usurping of Fidel Castro, including the ways they attempted to kill the Cuban dictator. Additionally, a report from the FBI says a reporter in the UK who worked for Cambridge News was tipped off to expect a breaking news story out of the US 25 minutes before JFK was fatally shot. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover wanted the public to believe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. The day Oswald was killed, Hoover sent out a memo saying there is nothing further on the Oswald case except that he is dead. Another document combed through interviews of people believed to have had contact with Oswald during his trip to Mexico prior to the assassination of JFK. The most interesting thing to come out of this is that none of it is really that suspicious, so it should put to bed forever the biggest and silliest conspiracy theories. And it absolutely definitely won't.
The Navy rescued 2 women and their 2 dogs on Wednesday after they'd been lost at sea for 5 months. Hawaiian mariners Jennifer Appel and Tasha Fuiava set sail from Honolulu to Tahiti in the spring, but encountered engine problems on May 30th due to bad weather. The women were stranded in the Pacific Ocean, and 2 months into their trip, they began daily distress calls, but no one was ever close enough to hear them. Finally, their sailboat was discovered by a Taiwanese fishing vessel 900 miles off the coast of Japan, a good 5,000 miles from their intended destination. The Navy's USS Ashland was in the best position to rescue them. Jennifer said, "I'm grateful for their service to our country. They saved our lives. The pride and smiles we had when we saw the Navy on the horizon was pure relief." The 2 were able to survive thanks to water purifiers they had on board, along with more than a year's worth of food like pasta, rice, and oatmeal.
Next month, millions of Americans will set their clocks back by 1 hour, and many of them aren't happy about it. Massachusetts has formed a special commission to study whether the state should leave the Eastern time zone for good. It would then use Atlantic time 1 hour ahead. During winter months, New Englanders can see the sunset before 4 p.m. Supporters say longer days would improve public health as well as the state's economy. The odds of the change are not good. The commission notes other states would have to change time zones as well to prevent upsetting financial markets, travel, and TV schedules. But Massachusetts is not alone in wanting more sunlight. In 2017, 26 states have proposed bills regarding clock settings, including some that would do away with daylight saving time. Switching clocks has been linked to increased traffic accidents, workplace injuries, and heart attacks. Donna Bailey, a Democratic state representative in Maine, asks, "Why do we keep doing this to ourselves?" She authored a bill that would have moved Maine to Atlantic time and opted out of daylight saving. That bill, like so many others across American politics, has gone nowhere. Let's go to the New York Stock Exchange for our Fox Business Minute with your friend and mine, Nicole Pedalides. Nicole, I'm hearing there's a scandal surrounding Subaru.
That's right, Richard. It appears that Japan's inspection scandal has hit Subaru. The company saying that over 250,000 vehicles, including its popular Legacy and Impreza models, may have received an improper final inspection due to the inspections being conducted by people who were not listed as certified technicians. Need something in a rush? Nowadays, there are curbside pickups for everything. And now Toys R Us is joining the ranks for online orders at 28 of its stores. This will come in handy for customers for the upcoming holiday season, especially for that last-minute Christmas rush. Are you a techie and looking for an awesome place to work? Well, job website Hired asked tech workers to rate major tech companies headquartered in their cities by their level of interest in working there.
Nicole, tell me, what exactly were the results?
Well, Richard, SpaceX, Google, Shopify, Tesla, and Netflix top the global list of employers that hired users want to work for. Lyft made the top 10 rankings. Notably absent from that list, Uber apparently is not where techies want to work.
Just when you thought bacon couldn't get any better, scientists may have accidentally figured out how to make it low fat. They genetically engineered pigs by adding a protein that helps regulate body temperature and burn fat. The experiment was designed to help pigs increase their body temperature to cut down on a farmer's heating costs in winter. What scientists ended up with was 12 pigs that each had about 24% less fat than normal pigs. The FDA would have to approve the genetically modified meat before it can be eaten in the US. The agency approved genetically modified salmon, but that process took decades. But you know what they say, some things, like low-fat bacon, are worth waiting for. The U.S. economy grew more than expected in the past few months. Gross domestic product grew 3% in the third quarter of the year, according to the Commerce Department's advance estimates. GDP is the largest measure of goods and services produced in the U.S. It's a first report on the economy since Texas and Florida were hit by hurricanes Harvey and Irma. Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen had warned economists to expect weaker numbers because of the storms. The construction business was hurt by the storms, but strong spending by consumers and businesses helped make up the difference. According to the Wall Street Journal, the numbers were a good sign that the Federal Reserve will look to raise its benchmark interest rate. Borrowers and economists will be watching to see what they do at their next meeting in December. The report will be revised 2 more times this year. Some experts say the report could be good news for the stock market.
It's time now for Royal Watch with The Sun. Let's check in with the legendary Arthur Edwards, The Sun's royal photographer for 40 years. His world tour brings him back to London. Arthur, welcome back to the show. There are reports, Arthur, of a June royal wedding. Tell me more.
Well, that's what speculation. I mean, no one knows the date. Everybody's assuming it's going to be a June wedding. But whenever Harry gets a chance, when he can fit it in with Kate's baby and the Queen's 70th wedding anniversary, which is also, I think, called a platinum wedding anniversary, they'll announce his engagement.
Arthur, you wouldn't believe how big Halloween is here in America, but tell me what Kate's plans are.
Well, Kate, as you know, has been sick with morning sickness, but she's coming back to work, and she's going to the Lawn Tennis Association on the 31st, and she's going to be talking to tennis players, and she might even hit a few balls.
Arthur, during your world tour, you've joined us from Portugal, Northern Ireland, today London. Where are you going next?
Well, next week it's Singapore and Malaysia, so next time I'll be talking to you, I'll be in probably Kuala Lumpur.
Arthur's great life continues. Arthur, we'll see you next week. Thank you. Walgreens Pharmacy announced it will sell a drug that combats opioid overdoses in the company's 8,000 stores across the country. Narcan is a nasal spray that can reverse opioid overdoses and will be sold without a prescription in 45 states. It costs about $125 without insurance. The National Institute on Drug Abuse says it can restore normal respiration to a person whose breathing has slowed or stopped as a result of overdosing. The company that makes Narcan says the spray is easy to use and developed for first responders, family and caregivers because most accidental overdoses happen in a home setting. Walgreens will also alert patients who get opioid prescriptions about Narcan and teach them how to use it in case of an emergency. A White House commission formed by the president found 142 Americans die each day in connection with opioids.
These are your quick hits. Pope Francis made a call from the Vatican to the International Space Station to speak with 6 astronauts.
People cannot come up here and see the indescribable beauty of our Earth and not be touched in their souls.
And finally, check out these talented 6th graders from Wisconsin who created rap lyrics to champion education.
So I'ma get it, educated, motivated, melanated, elevated, got big shoes to fill, so I'ma do it with class. I'm business for real, I'm at the top of my class.
Well, you're already off to a great start, ladies.
Fewer low-income Americans are getting into the best public universities. Since 1999, over half of the most selective public colleges have reduced the number of students enrolled from low-income families by more than 4.5%. Those households make less than $37,000 a year. During that same time, the number of students from high-income families making more than $110,000 a year increased by over 5%. The data comes from the think tank New America. The study's authors say needy students are being shut out of higher education, even though research shows those schools can help them do what little else in America can, rise to a higher class of income. They blame cuts to state education budgets and a growing emphasis on school rankings. That has left public schools in what the study calls an arms race for the brightest and the richest. That's because footing the bill for nearly all of a poor student's education is expensive for schools. But if they can entice wealthier families with smaller amounts of financial aid, those students are more likely to enroll and pay the difference. Just one of the many ways in which the rich stay rich. Wine production is expected to fall to its lowest level in more than 50 years, but that could be a good thing for American vineyards. An international organization that tracks production says output will be down 8% from last year, making this the lowest year since 1961. The group says the drop-off is because of the drought in Italy, France and Spain, which are the world's top 3 wine producers. The United States is the world's 4th largest wine producer, and output is expected to drop by only 1% despite the wildfires in California. The decrease is low because most of the farmers had already harvested their crops. Experts say the drop in supply for European wine could mean higher prices, which could lead to more people here and around the world buying American.
In today's Hometown Stories from Fox 29 Philadelphia, you may have heard about Brennan Jones, the man who walks the city giving free haircuts to the homeless. But we have an update. Taper's barbershop owner Sean Johnson was about to open a second location when he heard Brennan's story. Knowing the cold winter would limit Brennan's ability to help others, Sean gifted him a permanent shop free of charge. Thanks to Sean, Brennan can help the homeless any time of year. For our next story from Fox 2 Detroit, the winter cold was also a concern for the folks at the Detroit Dog Rescue until they received a call with surprising news. Trucking company Central Transport had several shipments refused, which is normal, but these items happen to be dog houses suited for cold weather. Instead of returning the items, Central Transport donated 120 dog houses, which normally cost between $120 and $170 each to the rescue. For our final story from Fox 4 Dallas, LaCrondia Ellis Rhines has served the Dallas Police Department for 27 years, but her toughest assignment was beating breast cancer. Now cancer-free, she's organizing a team for the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure in Dallas. Decked out in pink tutus and handcuffs, LaCrondia calls her friends the Cold Team, Cancer on Lockdown. LaCrondia hopes to spread the message of early detection and urges women to do monthly self-exams and, for those over 40, yearly mammograms.
Accelerating to over 200 miles an hour in about 9 seconds, a new car called the Bloodhound SSC is on target to break the land speed record. The supersonic car made its public debut at the runway at Newquay Airport in Cornwall. According to the BBC, RAF Wing Commander Andy Green was behind the wheel for the car's 2 trial runs. As Green emerged from the cockpit, he said, "We did 2 back-to-back 200-mile-an-hour runs in a 5-ton car. It felt like about 8 seconds, which is what we were expecting." Currently, the Bloodhound is equipped with a jet engine that allows it to accelerate with 6 times the horsepower of all Formula One race cars on the starting line at the same time combined. However, Norwegian aerospace and defense company Nammo is working on a rocket motor for the Bloodhound, so the car can exceed speeds of 1,000 miles an hour.
Valerie Baker. To you, it's probably just any other name, but to a little boy in Wake Forest, North Carolina, Valerie Baker is a name he'll never forget. 7-year-old Jackson McIlroy has a rare neurological disorder that makes it hard for him to walk. So every Halloween, his parents turn his wheelchair into something super cool. Like this year, Jackson is going as Chase from Paw Patrol, and his chair will be turned into a police car. Jackson and his mom, Amy, went to Home Depot to get supplies, and an employee, one Valerie Baker, stayed with them the whole time to make sure they were able to find everything they needed. Well, once they got to the register, they were shocked when Valerie opened up her own wallet and paid for their entire cart, nearly $100 worth of supplies. In that moment, the focus wasn't on Jackson's wheelchair. It wasn't on medical needs. It wasn't on the battle it's been to make Jackson feel included. The focus on this day was on a stranger who gave this incredible little boy a reason to smile. Valerie said, "I'm not a hero. I'm not an angel. If it's anyone who deserves wings and a halo out of this story, it's Jackson. He definitely had an effect on who I am and the type of person I want to be going forward." Well, Jackson inspired Valerie, and then Valerie inspired us. So I guess it's our turn now to pay it forward. Botox is a billion-dollar industry. According to Bloomberg, its annual revenue is over $2.8 billion. But when you're getting a shot of it to subtly erase wrinkles, you're probably not thinking about why it works or what's happening to your body. Originally, ophthalmologist Alan Scott made the discovery while trying to cure crossed eyes in the 1960s. Scott turned the toxin into a pharmaceutical that eventually became Botox. Botox is derived from the bacteria botulinum, better known for causing botulism. Botulism is a neurotoxin that slowly makes you lose control of your nerves, which would eventually cause you to suffocate and die. Scientists isolate that toxin in botulism to eliminate what makes it deadly, so you can dose your forehead with the fountain of youth. Injecting it in microdoses freezes minimal nerves in areas prone to wrinkling, like between your eyes or your forehead. So now you know the science behind the price of beauty.
According to scientists at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, none of us should be here because the current mathematical models on how life works today don't explain how life came to be. Experiments at CERN continue to support evidence that the Big Bang is a mathematical impossibility. Newsweek reported a new study published in Nature.com says the precise mathematical balance prediction doesn't line up with observations of the known universe. The collision of this fundamental symmetry should have resulted in a violent eruption that impeded the beginning of life as we know it. Christian Samora, the study's lead author, said in a statement, "All of our observations find a complete symmetry between matter and antimatter, which is why the universe should not actually exist," which is quite a statement. Scientists are fantastic at admitting what they don't yet know and don't yet understand. A private college in Missouri will begin teaching a mandatory class on patriotism. The College of the Ozarks has added a course called Patriotic Education and Fitness. They say it will teach Americans military customs, politics, and procedures for handling the flag. It will also teach map reading, rope knotting, and rifle marksmanship. It's an unusual move for a non-military institution. The school's president, Jerry Davis, acknowledged as much, but told Fox there is too much of an indifference towards the military in this country. This is not the first time the college has taken a stance on respect for the flag. Just last month, it instituted a policy of no pledge, no play. Its athletic teams won't compete against schools whose players don't stand for the national anthem. Davis denies that the new course is a response to national anthem protests. He also says he hopes other schools will adopt similar classes. Just be grateful you didn't go to a school that made rope knotting mandatory.
Tech giant IBM is now doubling the amount of paid time off they give new parents in their company. According to CNN, the new policy increases paid time off from 6 weeks to a full 12 weeks. It's retroactive, applying to parents who had children after November of 2016. And there's a 12-month period from the time the child was born to use the time off. Employers in the United States are not required to give paid time off to new parents. Women who work for certain employers have their job protected by up to 12 weeks during maternity under the Family and Medical Leave Act, but it's unpaid. The United States has one of the lowest levels of leave in the industrialized world, and we're one of the only countries that doesn't have a law requiring employers to pay for leave. Looks like we've got some catching up to do.
The Massachusetts State House was visited by a group of high school students hoping to raise the legal age for buying tobacco products to 21. According to the Boston Globe, each of the 21 students shared one reason they believe the age should be raised. The teenagers then met with legislators to discuss the proposed bill. The Center for Disease Control cites 9 out of 10 cigarette smokers first tried smoking by age 18. Supporters of the bill are hoping a raised age would prevent younger smokers from starting. Opponents believe if you're old enough to vote or serve your country, you can choose to smoke. Kevin O'Flaherty of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids said 65% of Massachusetts currently has the age of sale at 21. If passed, the bill would need Governor Charlie Baker's approval before becoming law.
An officer's quick reaction in a restaurant saved the life of a man who was choking. While watching football with his son at Buffalo Wild Wings in New Jersey, off-duty state trooper Dennis Palea noticed a man sitting at the table behind him appeared to be choking. He immediately jumped from his seat, rushing over to perform the Heimlich maneuver. The unidentified victim made a full recovery thanks to Trooper Palea. The New Jersey State Police Department released video footage of the incident on their Facebook page, calling Palea a hero and a prime example of why officers should always expect the unexpected and to always be prepared to act. Heroes don't always wear capes, sometimes they're wearing a football jersey.
That is it for today's Top 30. Here are some stories coming up that are worth knowing about. We talked to a doctor who takes us inside the mind of the Las Vegas shooter. New research says some baby foods may have dangerous contaminants, and divorce lawyers could soon be replaced by robots. These stories and more coming up on the next Top 30.